What would happen if one of the most controversial basketball players ever became friends with the most controversial president of all time? Well, that's exactly what happened when Dennis Rodman and Kim Jong-un hit it off. On one hand, we have Dennis Rodman, the NBA bad boy known for his wild antics on and off the basketball court. From his iconic rainbow hair to his fierce defense on the court, Rodman's larger-than-life presence transcended sports and captured the world's attention, leaving a significant mark on pop culture. On the other hand, we have Kim Jong-un, the supreme leader of North Korea, a nation shrouded in mystery and intrigue. To this day, North Korea stands as one of the most isolated and enigmatic countries on the planet. With its closed borders and tightly controlled information, North Korea remains a fascinating yet elusive subject, offering glimpses into a world rarely seen by outsiders. This unlikely duo grabbed headlines and left everyone scratching their heads. In this video, we will dive into the bizarre tale of this unlikely friendship. Before Donald Trump became the first sitting US president to hold a summit with North Korea, America's relationship with the Kim regime was practically non-existent. Into this extreme hostility between the two countries entered one of the most unlikely of intermediaries, former basketball player Dennis Rodman. From the outset, Kim Jong-un and Dennis Rodman could not be more different people. You can say Kim had quite a privileged upbringing, as he was groomed to become the next leader of North Korea from a very young age. In 1996, at the age of 12, Kim moved to Switzerland to join his older brother and attend a prestigious school. Kim and his brother both regularly watched action movies, especially those starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. In a bizarre coincidence that would not be apparent until years later, Dennis Rodman co-starred with Van Damme in the action comedy film Double Team, which came out a year into Kim Jong-un's studies at Bern. Kim inherited his love for basketball from his father, Kim Jong-il, spending his days on the court and neglecting his schoolwork. Kim Jong-un was also a huge Chicago Bulls fan and was sure to have noticed Rodman when he played alongside Michael Jordan at the height of his career, his defensive prowess helping the team to victory in the 1996, 1997, and 1998 NBA Finals. Known on the court as the Worm, Rodman won 5 rings but was often in the spotlight for his actions off the court. From his brightly dyed hairstyles and WWE guest appearance, to dating Madonna and wearing a wedding dress. Since his retirement from professional basketball in 2000, Rodman has been arrested multiple times and been in and out of rehab, making him an unlikely candidate to fly across the Pacific and meet Kim Jong-un. In February 2013, Rodman first made the nearly 6,000-mile trek over the Pacific Ocean to Pyongyang, North Korea. That trip, though, started out as a mistake. Rodman said he was approached to simply play an exhibition game and maybe sign a few autographs, something he was used to in his post-NBA life. So his agent, Darren Prince, started setting up the trip for him. Except Prince didn't realize that there was a difference between North and South Korea. It wasn't until Rodman's manager, Steve Simon, put the pieces together that he realized there was a problem. Rodman didn't understand where they were going until they had landed in Beijing and a member of his team started explaining it to him. Regardless, Rodman made the final leg of the journey to Pyongyang. When he arrived, he said the military was waiting for him and had rolled out a red carpet at the door of his plane. That's when he really started to put it together. By the time he had to play the game the next day, however, Rodman had changed his mind. He wasn't feeling it anymore and didn't want to participate after arriving at the arena. Rodman was just sitting there on the bench, watching the game, when out of nowhere these guys in black suits come down from the stands and head straight for him. They're all formal, asking him to come with them. You can imagine, Rodman's thinking he's in some kind of trouble, wondering if he did something wrong back in America. So he follows these guys and they lead him up to this area with tables that overlook the court. He takes a seat, not sure what to expect next, definitely feeling the heat. Suddenly the crowd erupts into this massive cheer. At first Rodman thinks they're cheering for him, so he starts waving back, getting into it. But then, he notices, off to his left, this short guy making his way towards him. And who could it be but Kim himself? Amid all the cheers and the excitement in the arena, the North Korean leader makes his way over and sits down right next to Rodman. Through an interpreter, he then asked Rodman how he was doing and started talking about basketball. So, Rodman finds himself in this unexpected conversation with Kim. Despite not really knowing the guy, They're chatting away like old pals, diving deep into Chicago and the Bulls. Out of the blue, Kim drops this bombshell. He says, "Hey Dennis, I'd love to come to America one day. Would you take me?" Rodman's taken aback and asks why, and Kim shares this dream of his, saying he really wants to go to Madison Square Garden and catch a basketball game. Imagine that scene unfolding. Before moving on to a more formal banquet, Rodman gave a speech for Kim.
"I'm sorry that my country and your country are not on good terms, but for me and the country, you have a friend for life. Sir, thank you. You have a friend for life."
As the evening progressed, Kim appeared to loosen up as everyone, including the North Korean leader himself, became progressively drunker thanks to copious amounts of alcohol.
And we just shooting this shit, we getting drunk and shit, stuff like that. He gets up and starts singing karaoke, have no clue what the fuck he's talking about. So everybody's clapping, and he has like this 18-piece women's band. I mean, these fucking girls are fucking hot, and the whole time they play one fucking song. It was a fucking theme from Dallas.
Before leaving, Rodman promised to push for better relations between the US and North Korea. Rodman traveled to North Korea 3 additional times over the next year, and even brought other players with him on one occasion for an exhibition game. Rodman's latter visits featured no cameras or television specials. They were intended to be personal-friendly visits in which Rodman enjoyed VIP treatment. While he was enjoying the trips and his new friendship with Kim, those trips weren't received the same way in the United States. It wasn't necessarily the trips themselves that got him into trouble, however, but rather how he described them in interviews. The other problem was that he was drunk in several of the interviews. It was the last trip, in January 2014, when he brought other former NBA players with him, that pushed it over the edge. Rodman erupted at an Italian journalist and then screamed at CNN's Chris Cuomo live on air days later.
"I'm gonna tell you one thing. People around the world, I'm gonna do one thing. You guy behind the mic right now, we are the guys here doing one thing. We have to go back to America and take the abuse. Do you have to take the abuse? Well, we're gonna take it. Do you, sir? Let me know. Are you gonna take the abuse? We're gonna get it. But guess what, though? One day, this door is gonna open.
Rodman checked into a rehab facility 1 week after that trip. Not only did he need the help, but he needed to hide out. The death threats that he and his family were receiving, Rodman said, had gotten out of control. Some have speculated that Rodman may have even had CIA connections due to his years of interactions with Kim, but the agency neither confirms or denies the allegations. When Trump became the first sitting US president to hold a summit with North Korea in 2018, Rodman shed tears as he offered his commentary on the event.
"I got so many death threats. I was sitting there protecting everything. And I believed in North Korea. And when I went home, I couldn't even go home. I had to hide out for 30 days.
It's quite ironic that after years of foreign journalists, diplomats, and scholars delving into North Korea, the person who managed to form the closest personal connection with the Kim Jong-un regime turned out to be an unconventional former NBA star. This just goes to show that when it comes to dealing with one of the world's most secretive, unusual, and authoritarian nations, anything can happen.